welcome back to episode 2, Stocked and Loaded. Today we're going to have a bit of a chat around sales, go-to-market, talk about, I guess, different approaches that we might have used in the past, and also wins, losses, how to potentially work through those losses, and how to not get too distracted after a win, right? For me, I've been selling into the enterprise space for probably 10-ish years, seriously. Probably the first 5 years was just me fucking around and taking anything that was put in front of me. But I think now that obviously I'm running a business, it's a bit different. Like, it's really important to make sure that first barrier and that gate of customers that is coming in is of quality, and it's not disrupting the rest of the operations. So you can get really distracted. So I think businesses typically fall into really bad habits, bringing on maybe sales reps that are sort of not well paid, because it drives the wrong behaviors. So like if somebody's got a $5 million freight budget or $5 million sales budget, they'll go out and bring anything in that they can.
100%.
Like, and you don't want 50 or 100 accounts to manage, right? You'd rather just 2 or 3. So what we're doing really consciously, and I can speak from my own business's perspective, is 2 to 4 accounts a year, between $2 and $5 million each. Resource up appropriately, get people from above the market. Don't hire anybody for 60, 70, 80 grand a year. Making sure that they're high caliber people. And then we've obviously done a lot with AI, so a lot of those rudimentary high activity things have been automated for us. Talk to me, mate, about what your approach is going into a market from a sales perspective, and give us a bit some cues around what you would typically do. I know that you're very much relationship based around your sales process.
I think what I was smiling at the start was when you said sales. I used to say sales like really quickly. I know people used to say seals. Like part of the Navy SEALs. And so sales. And had to work on that. I'm in sales. And I suppose for me, I think it was growing up, family business, selling potatoes or whatever, as I mentioned before. I think it was just relationship based. I think we're all people at the end of the day. I think for me was just I'd actually generally just want to get to know someone. I'd always come into a meeting, never sell. Like I'd try to get a meeting, whether it be LinkedIn or an introduction or an email or a call, and try to do my research on the person. Sometimes it wasn't maybe as targeted at the start, and maybe try to bite off more that I can chew and go too big. But I think going into a meeting genuinely and authentically, particularly being a young guy, more so back then. Decision makers in any world, mature. The people selling them all sorts of shit all the time. They're getting emails more so than ever now. In mails, LinkedIn messages, emails, calls, texts, all sorts of weird and quirky things to try get the business. But I think when you generally want to go in and meet someone, get to know them, and actually I'd say 90% of all meetings, I wouldn't even really talk about what the business that I was working for did or do. You try to qualify it. Someone would try to get, you don't want to waste their time or my time because you have to drive there and whatever, come in, maybe buy them lunch, coffee, dinner, and maybe no opportunities. I'll just park that for a moment. But in short, these people that are procuring or buying services and products in any type of business globally, not just in Australia, all people need to buy something at some point in time. They kind of know what you do anyway. If you've got marketing, if you're a freight business, a 3PL, or you sell hair products or you sell shoes, people know when they get an email that says ABC Logistics. They kind of know what you're selling anyway. So if you go in and just be yourself and get to know them, I tried always, now I've leaned into what I'm doing in the mental health space. Kind of people know me. I've always had that sort of approach to just come and go, can come across like that. Not that it's about me. I'm trying to be conscious of that, even sharing that. But if I can open up my story and show vulnerability and my imperfections, then what happens is that they can maybe find similarities and open up. Maybe it's their kids or their own story, and it builds a relationship.
Well, people buy off people they like.
People buy off people, and at the end of the day, a lot of people have similar products and services to others. I think life's hard enough without going into work and making it even harder. So I think something I've tried to build my sort of life around is just what do we want to work, be around people that I want to be around, and hopefully that goes both ways.
Yeah, I think for me, like if I can talk about early days, right? You know, we were working in a business together where they had a really good product ahead of market.
Yeah.
That's changed a lot, obviously, in the last 10 years. I think that genuinely we're probably the only ones that have a really unique product in that space at the moment. But back in those days, 2015 to 2018, 19, they probably had something nobody else had. And I think that, you know, my first big win was the body shop. And, you know, not only for obviously the commission was nice, but not only for the notoriety of Matt won the body shop, but it was that. And we've been told this from somebody that has been involved in businesses we've worked with in the past, is illustrative examples are the strongest example you can provide customers, right? Of we did A for B customer and this C was the result of that. So I think that is a really compelling part, but that really probably was the catalyst and the momentum of me to go, fuck, I can do this. Like it doesn't matter who I'm going to call Nike. And I did call Nike and they told me to get fucked, but that's okay. Like, you know, having that confidence to be like, well, I'm going to then call everybody that I can possibly call. And, you know, from that.
Because if you believe in yourself, first of all, believe in yourself and you believe in the product. That's one thing, sort of tic-tac-toe with you is I've been really lucky almost by chance as well that the businesses that I've worked for, they've been market leaders in that with the first business and the 3PL
first
business.
Mover advantage as well.
Just really good people as well. So if you've got a good product, good service, and then you believe in yourself, then it should be easy. I couldn't ever see myself in a role working for like a business that I didn't believe in. Not saying anything wrong with them. They may have trucks, they may have warehouses, it may be a tech business, could be anything, selling, I don't know, shirts, but if I don't actually believe in it, it's like,
it's hard to do.
Behind the scenes, every night you go to sleep and weekends, you got to drag yourself out of bed. So I think the key is, working for someone, with someone, the right time, right place, and feeling your gut instinct when's the right time to get out. Like anything in life is, but then there's a balance too. You're not moving around too much as well. Yeah.
So I think, you know, the other kind of thing that, and I think the market's changed a lot as far as cold calling. I wouldn't say it's dead, but it's kind of getting close because people get, as you alluded to before, they get spammed in so many different mediums now. Like, you know,
I think you'd be surprised, and I think something that I struggle with a lot, had over the years, and I've mentioned in a previous reel that I actually always struggle to label myself as salesperson, although, you know, come across like a salesperson, look, you know, talk and smell like one. But I really struggle with ADHD is another thing, is RSD, rejection sensitivity disorder. I really struggle with having to call someone being told no. But it could be that they don't want the product, it's not the right time, it's just not the right fit. But then that would affect myself. You know, I would then my identity. I would say, well, you know, I'm not wanted. Maybe that brings up a childhood thing. Maybe it brings a childhood trauma from my upbringing, from my parenting.
Trigger warning.
Absolutely, and it's something that I wanted to mention in this segment is with sales and with industry and with roles. I think one thing that maybe more recently for myself, I don't know about you, Matt, but particularly after what I've gone through, and I said before, a lot of it were things within my control that I regret, but having gone through my brain surgery and a collapse at a work conference, big work conference in the city, collapsing, having a brain bleed, brain clot, brain bruising, and then losing a role and having to step down off the board of the Supply Chain Logistics Association. I've gone in and out of dark caves, if you will, because I attached all of my identity to work. And I still struggle with that. So now I'm in that place where I'm putting back into my wife and kids, and you know, the relationship is taking work, and due to, you know, a lot of my past behaviors and I suppose wrong habits. But I think for anyone listening there, male, female, early in your career or later on in your career, is not to tie yourself too much to your role, because they come and go. So talk me through one of your biggest wins. And how did that feel, and what was the process? And it doesn't even have to be like an actual sales transaction. Like, so I often recount that one of my probably biggest wins was getting an investor. That's what I was going to say. You know, it was the right time. An investor. We had to have a secret meeting. You know, during COVID, or legally, of course, we had a secret meeting.
You told me.
And can't disclose that. But I had to find the right place where we could actually have a meeting. and to get that all happening during COVID. But it was the people that had met along that process, and then doing the deal, if you will, and then breaking bread and having dinner, and then that sort of initial period of, wow, we did it, we put in that much work, where that could be the make or break of where you could be. Yeah, you might have grown slowly, but then biggest win was probably raising capital from a large global company, because then I've done it once. But again, I had other people around me. Wasn't just me. Definitely not. A lot of smart, mature, educated, and experienced people around me. That was obviously teaching me, and I learned a lot around slowing things down. I think so. But yeah, definitely that one biggest loss in terms of.
And why do you think that you lost it?
In terms of like an opportunity?
Yeah.
Good question. I'll need time to think about that one.
That's right.
I've lost many, but I think maybe just being too antsy, like too wanting to get the deal done. Maybe it was a customer name, or maybe you're on a blue patch, but it wasn't as if any businesses were in a bad place financially, but it can give across that sort of, particularly for a small business, like say, not small, but growing business, like say Sparrow, or where I was at U-Tenant, whatever. From the outside looking in, it's like, this is a young company, and a lot of startups don't last, and a lot of small businesses don't last. But maybe from the outside looking in, from the customer's perspective, it's like, well, if I hand them the trust with this work, are they going to be there in 3 to 6 months? But if you give off those wrong signals, they maybe think that the business is not doing that well.
Yeah.
So I think being too full on and trying to get the deal done, and then you become inauthentic. You start following up too much, whether it be weekly, monthly. They just need time. You don't not know what's happening on their side of the fence. They could be doing divestments, acquisitions. They're going through a restructure. They're going private equity. There's so many different things that could be going on in the background. So I think one thing you learn from that is to have that conversation. Go, Mr. Customer, I understand it's been 3 months. You said, come back to me in 6 weeks or whatever it was, or 3 months. Where are you up to now? I wish I would have got better at just asking them. It's okay if you don't want to work with us for whatever reason. We can dissect that, do a post-mortem, but just let me know so I don't waste your time, waste my time, and I get excited. And I think everything takes time. It's probably the best way.
One of mine that probably still hurts was a $10 to $12 million customer, sort of bit of an e-commerce ish customer. Was sort of tipped in there, and we had the year of the CEO, the operations director, and the logistics manager, and they all greenlit it, which was great. We went through a tender process, won the tender process, got the credit app started, got a trial started, had a pilot going, all the things, were absolutely smashing it as well, like really performing really well. And then we didn't really have any access to a parent company that was probably really the actual decision maker. So it was probably blind from me not to have, I had all the stakeholders engaged, right, at the business I was working with, but I didn't have any of that direct contact with the parent company. And then we just had the rug pulled where the CFO of that company said, nah, we're renewing with our current incumbent. All of the time in motion study and all the hard work that we did, like we mapped out this full order to dispatch process, and basically gave them like the keys to the kingdom on how outside of freight, this is how you should structure things before it gets to us, and all of the intangible savings you'll get as a benefit upstream, right? For me, that just fucking killed, because we probably did 6 or 7 weeks worth of work before we went live that a normal consultant coming in would charge 50, 60 grand for and generate probably 250, 300 grand of payback ROI. So, for me, that was like a stake in the heart, because mate, I was already booking holidays in my head and doing all the things, you fucking get, enchanted with how you're going. But I think I was also a little bit blind to the self-awareness to say, well, you've done a really good job with this, but it's not there yet. Like, you don't have a contract, Matt, so fucking pull your head in, right? And that's a bit of a lesson learned. But for me, me, like I can be, I've got a bit of a chip on my shoulder and I can be a little bit petty. So
that's a good thing, as a lot of people don't know about you, is like, we sort of seen as salespeople. It's even really hard for us, I think, for me anyway, to be on a podcast that's going to go out there in the industry, and people that know us or know of us, maybe, like us or don't like us, and hopefully that comes across in the right way, is, it's really hard to put yourself out there, particularly to say you're a salesperson. But I think your competitiveness is something that I admire. Anyone can see, but you actually care. It's like, it's not as if you want to do well, do deals just to make money. or not do a subpar job on the work. You actually can execute very well. So I think, this is certainly an interesting topic for me to discuss. Thank you. You're pushing me out of my comfort zone at the moment. I'm actually doing that.
Does it feel like we're back in 2017?
So
Carl, let's do a role play.
Yeah,
You're like, for fuck's sake,
a lot more, with a lot more, I suppose, precision around a conversation. But
it's funny that you should mention that, right? Because I have said in the past to people that I've worked with and people that know me that I should be far more successful by the measure of the opportunities that I've had in front of me. I should be far more successful than I have been, and the ethics around doing a deal where you don't think that it's the right one. And, as we've spoken about not too recently, I kind of missed out on a deal that I wasn't willing to create a rod from my own back on because it would be up to my team to execute on it, right? Yeah. So, if there's a big chance where, a competitor's saying we can deliver double the savings that sort of what you've been proposed in, and I know that's not reality, but they're also quite smart, right? If you get in the opportunity, then you integrate it and then, let's work through it in like 6 months, and then 6 months goes by and then it's really hard to get them out, right? But I'm just not willing to fucking do that because brand equity, personal equity, and I have no doubt that probably in the foreseeable future I'll end up having a crack at that customer again and I'll win them. But, if I was to operate in the other way where, I think coming from account management as the starting point and then into sales and realizing all of the bullshit that gets promised where you're like, fuck, we can't do this. Why did they say this? And it was just to win the customer. I just won't do that, especially now that I'm running a business because
I think it's hard. I think what we hear from that is, and knowing you and, from my background is we struggle with unfairness. I think I do anyway. Like you struggle with unfairness when you see something that it's like an ADHD trait as well. And unfortunately, it's got me in way too much trouble in my life, and I should learn just to shut up and stay in my own lane. And that's something I have learned in terms of like the analogy of like horse racing, or wear blinkers because you look too much left and right. And early on in my career, I made a mistake by worrying too much about what somebody else was doing, whether it's be in my career or even in life, and then I'm the one that suffers. So anyone listening is like, probably one of the biggest mistakes in my career is like, back yourself and know we're good enough and you're good enough, whoever's listening, at what you do, and you're going to make mistakes along the way, but stick to what you know, what you're good at, double down on your strengths, and eventually it'll come good. I think we there's that old saying is like we over-index what we can achieve in say 1 to 2 years, but under-index what we can achieve in 5 to 10. And it's some advice I wish I give myself 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, is your career is quite long, life's quite long, or it can be quite short, depending on what you do, on what you do and how you handle it. But I think there's a lot to be learned from making mistakes as well and being open with it. I think that's one thing I've struggled with as well, is the mistakes, not thinking people knew about them, but they're quite well known.
You also got to hate fucking losing.
Losing.
That's why I think people that are in sales that come from a sporting background typically do better than ones that don't, because they have that kind of burn inside.
You want to tell them about the time I scored 10 against you in the AFL back in the early days? No,
that's a lie.
No, that's a lie.
That's a lie. You would never do that. Otherwise, I would hurt you. So it didn't continue. But I think one of the
I'm out.
if there's one thing that I could impart on, like if there was a 20-year-old Matt Sheen in front of me, one thing that I did really well back then, and I did a lot of things badly. The one thing I did really, really well was that I would look at, and there's people that will probably listen to this, like a Steve Bellerini, who was really generous with his time. He didn't have to give me any time, or like a Matt Barbito or someone like that back at EFM days, where I just fucking harassed them. I was like, so what do you do every day? So what does your day look like? And so can I listen to you do a sales call? And like Steve, who is obviously super patient, he afforded me so much time when I was like around that age. And the thing that he told me, which kind of stayed with me over that journey, was give without the expectation of return. Which I was always very then generous with my time with new sales reps and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I would always have to take them out on the road with me, and the retention in that business that we worked with wasn't great. So I reckon I trained about 1,000 people over that fucking 8-year period. But, it's just staying with them and getting those little nuggets of gold around, that's interesting. And then even if they're using analogies that are relevant to them, there's nothing wrong with you adopting that as your own analogy. The customer doesn't know that, and it still works, right? So, you know, Steve in particular in those early days was really important for me. So grab onto somebody that you admire from not only from a sales results perspective, but somebody that
you got to be open to that too. Something that I was pretty big on early in my career with like yourself and other number of other people in that business and other businesses. But something that it's just dawned on me is something I probably need to do again. It's almost like you go through a period and then you kind of forget that you need that help. And to surround yourself with new people as you go through, but not because you outgrow them or you outgrow they outgrow you or whatever. You go on a different trajectory or path in life, and it could be depending on where you live as well. Just convenience is a big thing. So something that I can probably reflect on this conversation is who do I get around me that can maybe help me develop or grow again a different.
Well, we're in a really different, so if I can talk specifically about us for a sec around Sparrow XPL, we're in a really unique position at the moment where we've got probably a product to bring to market that people are like, oh, it's new and scary. So we're finding this like massive divide around customers that we speak with where half they get it. They're like AI, anyone that says AI and the technology wave that's happening at the moment isn't going to make businesses better, faster, more commercial, they've just got their head not screwed on correctly. And then you've got the other side that maybe are like the old firm, right? That are like, we've always done it this way.
Or they might replace their job.
There's the fear of loss. Like if we bring these guys in, are they going to make us redundant? So we're having a really hard time at the moment with some customers. And it typically is like, it's so weird because the enterprise space specifically, and you would know this, speaking with so many of those type of businesses from the U-Tenant days, is that like the bigger the business is, kind of the more unsophisticated they might be. Like they've got these big rudimentary
turning a big boat.
You turn a submarine, you just don't see it, right? So like there's these big businesses that have these rudimentary archaic platforms that if they were to do any type of transformation, that might cost them a couple mil. Like if you want to hack SAP to have it your way, that's going to be really hard. So when we're pitching it, sometimes it's like, oh, this concept's really interesting. But then what we're forgetting is, for them to actually implement this in their org with all the red tape and all that type of stuff could be really hard to translate. So we're now trying to find this kind of hybrid bridge around, well, maybe there's a secondary offering that we can provide them that is not just the full stack 4PL. Maybe it's like a licensing thing or something like that. But I guess the biggest validation for us is whether or not we have heaps of our competitors looking at our profiles. Which we do, which is great. And, we have friends from the market that we might have worked with in the past calling us up and saying, oh, it's great what you're doing something different. Can I pick your brain on it? So that's all good and interesting. But, for us, I think I mentioned it before, like, when a business gets to a certain point in time, it becomes like almost unenjoyable to work in. And I feel like
this is fun.
That breaking point might be like 70 to 80 mil where they start becoming a really, really big org. And it becomes about the numbers, less about the people and the customers. So for me, I think that for us to remain having fun, remain selling a product that is relevant in front of market, is if we keep those customer base, if we keep it relatively small, say 25 to 30 customers, and turn
customers
over
that you want to work with, people that you want to work with,
and turn over 50 to 60 mil a year, resource up appropriately, and build customized technology that's specific for the use case. Understanding customer problem statements. So whatever the fuck you go to market is, it doesn't really matter, right? Like I think our product is outstanding, but we never start with that. We start with, well, what's the customer's problem? And if you always start there, you're always going to have success in the process because don't make it about the business, make it about the person, their problem.
And then how you can solve it.
And then do that with every stakeholder in the business. So there's going to be somebody in finance or logistics or operations. They're all going to have different problems. If at the end of the day you're pitching to that entire team,
and it's just about cost and but there's a cost and the price as well. There's two different things.
What's the cost of a good price? But if you have all those stakeholders in a meeting in a room at the end of it, and you're pitching and they're all nodding, it's going to make it fucking hard for the CEO or the MD to actually work against you solving 15 problems on one side of the table. So, I mean, for young sales professionals that are coming into the market, that would be my suggestion is don't lead with product, lead with problem, and try and turn some of those challenges into opportunities.
What do you find some of the biggest problems you're finding with, like, I suppose with a new solution that you have? Maybe you're finding new problems.
Well, we're asking, leading the witness in sales is like half of the battle, right? So I think for us, what we're trying to do is ask questions that we know the answer to, that are uncomfortable to answer with the answer that it is, right? So like, what's your AI strategy for logistics in the next 2 to 3 years? Most customers don't know where the fuck to start. And, we ask them openly, what AI are you adopting in your business currently? Yeah. And some of them say Copilot. Yeah. We're like, ooh, that's not it. Yeah. Yeah. So like, I'm like, have you met my friend Claude? Yeah. It's like the super saiyan. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah. Oh, by the way, side note, I know tangent because obviously this, but if everyone does that, everyone looks like Jean-Claude Van Damme. If they do that, you do it. Do it with me. Yep, Jean-Claude.
Can't believe we just did that, but anyway.
Oh, well.
Move on.
Now it's documented. But yeah, see, this is what you do to me. You get me off track. But I'll bring you back around.
Bring me back around.
Now talk to me about something you're terrible at, self-admitted, which would be closing. Because I love closing. Closing is the funnest part.
Yeah. So see, even that word of closing, I feel like...
You closed up when I said it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for me, it's like I don't see like... I see it as people. I know it's an opportunity, but I don't see... It's just where my brain's wired is like... I don't see like closing someone. It makes me feel...
You've always said that you feel like you're taking something from someone.
I don't want to close them. Even though I believe in what we're doing and I want to work... I want to work with the person. This whole idea of closing someone, it's closing someone because behind the opportunity or the product or service is people. So I find the idea of closing people is salesy, even though I'm in sales, because then when I meet salesy people trying to sell me a car, sell me something,
I hate it.
It annoys the shit out of me. And I'm like, is that what I'm like? Yeah. So I find it, I do all, the forward work.
But are they solving your problem when they're selling you a car?
Well, potentially, if I don't have a car and need to get here.
Mikey.
Yeah. I just find it really hard that especially because as mentioned, I try to build relationships up with people and then I'm asking them for something. Yep. So one thing I've found there is I almost build relationships up with people over the journey, and I may not have been in a position to offer the right service, or hasn't been the right time, or there hasn't been the need for them to buy, quote unquote, buy what I'm offering. It sounds weird, but I almost find that I get to a point where the relationship with that person's so good and so strong that you don't want to ask them or them to be a customer, because it might change the dynamic. Because I build up like a lot of relationships, rightly or wrongly, something that could reflect on, but a lot of relationships like ours, for me in Australia, because I've thrown myself into work.
It'd be weird selling something to you.
Yeah,
so I'd feel weird about it.
Yeah, so
but that's different. That's 10 years. Right?
So I think. Yeah, being just asking for the sales, like the whole thing of sales, like the hardest bit is just asking for it. So you do all the front work, and then you just don't even ask for it because maybe you're afraid of hearing no. So
there's a couple of things that to give advice to anybody listening to this that you can say that really hands the power back to the client to be able to close themselves. Something along the lines of, is there anything that I've shown you or sold you over the process that you change? Yeah. And they're basically telling you, you've addressed my problem statement, but there might be other things inside the business that, as you said before, you're not privy to that could then help you actually solve that problem and progress forward. Something else would be, have I covered everything that is in scope today? Yeah. Something like that can, yes, actually you have. Great. Okay, so what are the next steps from here? Where do you see the next steps? Yeah. Is there a certain timeline that you had around this process? So then you can hold them accountable to something that they've given you rather than you run your own sales process. So I think and the biggest part of sales out of anything is to know when to fucking just pull away. Yeah. I did something the other day which I made you privy to where you said, does that work? Does that ever fucking work? And I was, it's obviously has worked to a degree, but sometimes as a salesperson,
unconventional, but it can work.
Well, sometimes as a salesperson, you think, I'm just going to go over their head. I'll have to go over their head. Yeah. Like I'm getting no traction.
Because if you believe in what you do, you believe what,
he's
ghosting there's a saving or...
If the illustrative examples around customers that are relative to that are so compelling that you believe that going over their head to show their manager...
You don't get an old shoe.
You believe you're
right, and then send them the shoe and write them a letter and say you're just trying to get a foot in the door. You don't do that, no.
Well, what about the you send them a big bag of toilet paper.
Right.
Say, if you're ever in the shit, give me a call.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Or a jar of pickles.
Good during COVID. Or just find out their favorite drink is and send them that.
Yeah.
Or,
but there's all these. I mean, we're trialing it ourselves, right? We do a lot of guerrilla marketing for the shock factor just to get the eyeballs. But
that's all. Now let's lean into marketing a bit. 'Cause something that you're doing really well out there. Reminds me of the days back. We were doing a lot of content on LinkedIn. I think a lot needs to be said for that. So I can sit here having not posted on LinkedIn this year at all, have not posted anything on any social media platforms, and it may look from the outside, people watching this or listening to this, that it comes easy to me or to you, but it hasn't. It's taken time.
That's all I think about
fear
as well.
rejection, and some of this that we might put out there may not come across okay. We see others, people in any industry have a laugh about certain things, but there's a lot to be said. So putting this spotlight on you is good on you. Congrats, and keep going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to put yourself out there to be judged. For people to label things or rightly or wrongly, but for anyone listening to this, do it yourselves. Keep learning, put it out there. People forget, so I think your marketing's quite good because no one else is really doing it in that space, and you've actually got a compelling product that I've seen many times. So if you want to talk about your marketing, I've seen you've been overseas, LinkedIn, you've got a platform to sell. You put your staff out there. Different offers for the market.
Yeah, I think.
Tell us a bit what's different.
The whole idea is like, if you're going to do a few things, do them really well, of high quality. So you went to Manifest a couple years ago in Vegas, right? So for the people that don't know, Manifest is the world's biggest supply chain conference. It's about 13,500 people go there. DHL put it on. It's really cool. Like, they do a whole bunch of shit that you just don't see here in Australia. And the enormity of people that are there, it's like you're at a concert. It's crazy. It's mental. And Vegas being Vegas, right? So for me, I was like, well, you went there, but all we saw was a still photo of you at the conference. Yeah. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to invest the money in going over there, I'm going to fucking jump on a WeWork. I'm going to get a videographer that is based in Las Vegas, which is what we did. I'm going to pay her a day rate to follow me around. Yeah. And really make the
not all
engagement,
day, not all day,
not all night, and really get that engagement level up, right? To give people a view around, well, what was actually at the conference, what did Matt learn, and then I did that consciously on the second day. Yeah. So on the first day, what I did was I walked around and I bowed up people that I had connections with. Right, so there's obviously the guy from Tive, who've got that little 5G tracker. Went around and said, "Hey, I'm going to have a videographer tomorrow. I'd love to just come and talk." So it was a bit more organic when I got there. So it was like, "Oh, hey, mate, there she is. Like, let's do the thing." And then things that were of interest to me that they didn't have here in Australia that I knew that we were going to be doing. Right, so like CH Robinson are big on their AI. So I wanted to have a chat to Chris Cutshaw, who's the VP of CH Robinson globally, and have a chat to him after his keynote, about his keynote, knowing that we're doing relative things here for the domestic market, right? So it has to all tie back into that
strategy
core value
as well.
problem. Yeah. So while
how do you put those all together? It's like there's branding, your marketing, sales. It's a bit like Coca-Cola, McDonald's. You look at a lot of world's largest companies still invest heaps in marketing and branding. They say there's an old saying, it's like shoving coal on a steam engine. You need to keep doing it. Yeah. If you think of Wrigley's is a good story during the Great Depression, Wrigley's gum, doubled down on the marketing, and we're almost going broke, but they doubled down because people were more stressed, and generally people more stressed, they chew more gum. And so tell us a bit more about that around the branding strategy, marketing, and how that all flows
you've always
together.
got to start with the end in mind. Yeah. So what's the end goal? Yeah. And for me, the early days, it wasn't about customer acquisition. Yeah. I mean, we were really fortunate in the fact that we obviously we had investment, so we didn't need to build a book of customers that was then going to be unsustainable for us to service. So only having sort of 7 customers, we only have 7 customers at the moment, all enterprise, all contracted, all integrated, so we can add the value around them. And that is conscious. That is a conscious thing that we've done because we wanted to make sure that we could build something specific for that use case every single time. So the whole idea around the marketing at the beginning is exposure. Yeah, exposure to the audience, get the name out there. There wouldn't be too many people in the domestic market now that actually haven't heard of us or haven't seen us at an event.
Tell us a bit about the name. Sparrow?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not a fantastic story, but I was.
You go, don't lie, getting away with a good story.
Yeah, well,
make something up.
I'll embellish.
Yeah.
No, so I'm a massive Jennifer Lawrence fan.
Yeah.
And so I love the movie Red Sparrow.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Red Sparrow, oh yeah, spies, intelligence,
Yeah.
blah, 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 blah. So I was actually going to call it Red Sparrow to begin with.
There you go.
And then my wife was like, well, how about the whole espionage murder thing? And I was like, oh yeah, that's actually a great point. Probably can't use Red Sparrow.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, sparrows are really nimble. They're intelligent creatures. And then the XPL comes from, obviously, as you know, fourth party logistics.
Not from the beer, no.
No, the XPA.
XPA.
Or third party logistics.
Yeah.
The X signifies
Any number?
no number. It's
No number?
10x in your outputs. So the whole idea.
Grant Cardone.
Yeah. Well, oh god. Talk about sales and go to
Hope he's
market.
not watching it.
Yeah,
Unlikely.
God, he definitely won't be.
Might need fright.
But the whole idea is, specifically talking to Trav, our CTO, is like, well, what can we do with the use of AI to help our customers 10x their output? And so the X signifies that is XPL. So party logistics obviously being the PL. It didn't have any, play on words there. But I think for us, like, showing that to customers, the Sparrow name sticks for some reason. And the XPL is kind of, people just sort of refer to us as sparrows sometimes, which I'm also cool with. Yeah. But
any interesting facts about sparrows? I don't have any.
I don't. No, I don't. No, you should probably
ask AI, ChatGPT.
Well, we could. Yeah. We've got Perplexity on the board in the lunchroom, so you can ask it anything.
Do that during a break.
We'll do it during the break. But I think that with the business name, I didn't want to. I was actually going to call it Freight Goat to begin with. Yeah. For those of you playing at home, and that's a part of the guerrilla.
That'll come later.
That's part of the guerrilla marketing as well, right? Is just how do you disrupt?
Yeah. Are you having fun with it?
Yeah. Don't take yourself so seriously. Like, people are giving me so much shit about the whole fire your broker thing, but I love that. All marketing's free marketing.
Well, we live in a world now we're so conditioned to the same sort of shit with the same sort of stuff all the time, and it's a bit like the old is it Adam Grant? Not Adam Grant. Come back to me, Purple Cow. I think it might be Adam Grant. And it's like, if you're driving down the road, you're seeing black cows, white cows, brown cows, but then you see a purple cow, you actually take notice.
Yeah.
So it's like one of those, when we see something different, even walking down the street, we look at it. And a lot of people, maybe it's their own insecurities. And not a lot of, me, it was my own ego. I used to see people similar age to me or someone on LinkedIn doing something different. I'd be like, oh, look at that. But then I'm like, that's like me, and good on them for putting themselves out there. I find Australia as well, similar to Ireland, is tall poppy syndrome. I'm not going off on a tangent and down that path, but I give a lot more kudos now to people that put themselves out there. They continue to learn, to continue to grow, to do their marketing differently. And it's easy for a big company to do something different with their marketing because they're hidden behind a brand. They're hidden behind a big brand name. But it was actually someone like yourself was putting yourself out there, willing to take risks, willing to fail, willing to make mistakes, willing to piss people off. But at the end of the day, no one's hurting anyone. No one's killing anyone. Yeah. Lucky to live in a society where, if you're getting offended pretty easily by something, then you take a look at yourself. And I can hold my hand up in a test to say I was that person. And why not just say good on you? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Good on you for having a crack. I hope you do well, because there's enough out there for everyone. I learned that the hard way as well. Yeah, I also love competing. Yeah. And competing, whether it be like... Well, you're both growing. From a health and fitness perspective or from a business perspective. And, that's why I think for anybody that is starting in sales, what is really interesting to ask prospective customers is, why did you buy last time? So what was the trigger to buying last time? And making that relative to what your sale is. So, tell a quick story. Is we had a conversation with a $5 million customer. Would be about 10 to 12 weeks ago at the moment. And fantastic meeting. Showed them our tech. They were sort of eating out of the palm of our hands. And then when it came to telling them about our customer journey and our process, they weren't willing to give us all the information that we needed to actually achieve what their problem statement was. And so, typically for a startup, it would be a really brave decision to be like, well, you know what, I'm going to pause there. You have a great business model, but you're probably not the customer for us. But that's exactly what we did.
And now somebody who's 20 or 21 that's coming into sales probably not going to do that, right? They're just going to be like, give us what you've got, we'll quote it up.
Yeah, and waste their time, your time.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? Is that you've only got a finite amount of time to find a customer, convert a customer, close it, and implement it. And if the expectation is that you're going to do all that well, then you can't front load it with shit, because then you'll just actually lose your way. And the things that you do win, you'll execute poorly on. So, I always had a massive knock on me at EFM for having a really short prospect list, but I was closing 50% of those. Yeah. So like, some reps would be having 25 names on their list. And I'm like, 25. How are you going to manage if half of them say yes to you? Yeah. How the fuck are we going to do that? Yeah. So I would have 6 and I would close 3. Yeah. And all those 3 would be contracted and integrated and be the customer model that you'd want. And a lot of those customers are actually still with that business, which is a testament to how sticky that, if you put enough investment up front in that process, that it will actually translate to a result. So I think for anybody out there, if you take it slowly with that customer process, find out what the problem statement is, but also look at associated businesses that you've been successful with. So as soon as I won Body Shop, by osmosis, I sort of won Lush Cosmetics because I had all the illustrative examples, the same frat pattern, all the type of stuff. And guess what? I went and knocked on the door of Aesop and then L'Oreal and like all these other businesses that I knew that they're probably suffering the same challenge.
It's like a targeted approach instead of shotgun.
Yep. And then, but have a couple of verticals you do that with and ones that businesses you enjoy.
So question.
What's my ideal? Who's the target customer that I would love to get? That would be good. That's a great question.
Yeah, go for it. I asked that question.
Mine would be Yeti. Yeah, but I'll never get Yeti because we know I'm not going to give my bloody competitors a pump up on here. But there's a whole bunch of services we don't offer that sit around that. But that's just a brand I love so much. Yeah, Yeti or Mercedes probably. Yeah, because I've had so many of them.
And we've spoken about this, sales, marketing, extroverted, putting yourself out there. One thing I've still find, struggle with, imposter syndrome, number of things, with a business partner, Theo Pappas, with one of us, sitting on a board of 2 non-for-profits in the mental health space and a charity, which is an employment assistance program. And then a previous business I co-founded and sitting on a board of SCLAA. It's by no means a pump up, just a young guy having a crack. And
if you want Kyle's CV, his email address is
don't have an email address, send a courier pigeon or a sparrow. Being so sales focused, extroverted, and as mentioned in the back end, find the time to sit down and do the grunt work. But that's not the answer I want you to give. What did you find was the hardest part of transitioning and starting your own business and doing all the non-sales related activities? Because a lot of people that run businesses, particularly in our industry, feel like they come from a finance background. Coming from a sales background, which is what you need. So everybody's in sales. So what was one of the biggest challenges for you, or one of the biggest successes, or best piece of advice? Any of those?
Yeah, I think it was the naivety around thinking how much I fucking knew that I actually didn't know. Yeah. I'm probably I'm probably luckier than most people in the fact that I have a massive interest in finance, in the stock market, in business, just in general. Mm-hmm. But like setting up an ASIC and setting up then a Xero and then getting your Xero to integrate with your FMS and all of these fucking things that you would never have to worry about, but then you have to be kind of an expert in, was just mad. Yeah. And like at the start, I was like, when will it end?
Daunting.
When will it end? We're about to go live with our first customer and they're like, can you send through your certificate of currency for WorkSafe? I'm like, I don't fucking have it. Yeah. Like I don't have it. Yeah. How do I get this? And like fortuitously.
Accountants, lawyers.
Yeah. And this is just like fortuitously, like the clouds in the sky had opened and I was the chosen one all of a sudden. This like was super lucky that I actually had a contact that worked at WorkSafe. Yeah. That generally it's a 6-week process. I got it fucking turned around in 24 hours on a Thursday and that customer was to go live Monday week following. So I thought when I figured out it was 6 weeks, I thought I'm fucked here. And then that same customer who, this boardroom's actually named after, but we won't say the name because our competitors will watch this. But, them as well, like having a really sticky customer that trusts you, that you not only add shitloads of value to, so they should trust you, but, 8 weeks into the business going live, the main carrier that we were working with for that customer went under. And they told me when I was actually in Sydney at the time, they told me at 11 o'clock on like a Tuesday or something, hey, we're not going to have the pickup today. And I'm like, oh, something operationally has gone wrong. No, we're actually winding the business up. I was like, fucking hell. Like, well, what do I do? Like, how do I scramble out of this? Like, so stuff like that, you're always going to get curveballs. Yeah. But to get back to answering your question before around how do you navigate all those things, having really, really good people around you that you can actually trust and can ask. Yeah. And, mate, I asked people that are at competitors, hey, fuck, what did you do here? Yeah. Or how are A and Z to deal with from a business banking perspective, and got actually honest answers. Yeah. Obviously, sort of 4 or 5 months after that, we then got the investment. So everything became exponentially easier around having an office and all that type of stuff. But I think that going through that journey around not really understanding how to connect any of those dots actually makes you better when you're in front of a customer, specifically somebody that might be another business owner, where you can kind of relate to.
Because they've been there before.
Yeah.
Where you can actually say, I don't have all the answers.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Or you can speak about things that they're like, how the fuck does he know that? Yeah. So, I think that all of that hardens you in the sales process and really helps kind of make you come out the other end. Yeah. But I think, if there was any advice I would give to myself going back.
Process is a big word you mentioned, so you can hold on us, just to pause you, but process is something that I struggle with is, I can go here, there's another rabbit chase that down the hole. There's actual process to sales, not in a salesy way, but you're not doing yourself you're not doing yourself a service or them a service if you're not doing things in a methodical way and being a sort of haphazard, particularly it's not transactional selling.
Everyone that's worked with me would know that I write a sales process for me because I need to have that northern star around, okay, where am I going with this? Yeah. And when you do it so often, it then becomes clockwork. Yeah. So when I started the business, that's actually one of the first things I did was create a sales roadmap around how I want to take a customer through the journey and what do those checkpoints mean and who plugs into those checkpoints, and making sure that those checkpoints actually don't rely on me massively. But what I was going to say before is if I was to restart the business all over again, one, I would have tried to coerce Travis into coming sooner because the business really didn't get the legs. Yeah. All the vision and he actualized everything that I had in my head, and not only that, but over and above that. But if you have somebody that's right in flank with you around finance and technology at the start, if you're just a salesperson, that would make things exponentially easier. But I'd also say that having the scars from that process has served me really well at the back end too. So
we all have scars. We all have scars, physically and mentally.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Actually, you have something that I've always given you shit about that I was actually wrong about was you actually have an excellent memory.
Yes, I do. I have a good long-term memory. Yeah. I mean, short-term. I think this will be in our next episode of the podcast, but I underestimated having the brain surgery that I had 3 years ago. Full craniotomy. I came out of that thinking I had to go back to work, had to provide for my family, bit of ego there, got something to prove, loss of identity. It's actually now starting to catch up with me, and I'm trying to be okay with that, which is really, really hard. I might come across now saying it quite easily, but it's been really hard to grapple with, sleepless nights of losing my capability of memory, my function, judgment. But yeah, memory's
a superpower. Look, you're good at remembering things. I'm good at remembering faces, names.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, this customer, but boom, boom. You're like, the fuck did you remember that? But I think that, for anybody out there that's in sales that is going to tackle it, I think lean into the areas that you're uncomfortable in, but also everyone has talents, right? And make sure that you're obsessive about the talent. I think that
depends where you are, depends what makes you comfortable. Yeah. Depends on the type of business and the structures. You may be really good in a business where you're really good at opening up doors and have a really good team behind you. It's something I didn't communicate well enough. I wish that I did spend more time learning and doubling down on things that I wasn't good at. Yep. One thing I've always struggled with was that back end, because I love people. At the end of the day, this industry or any industry, it's very easy to say, but it's about people. But supply chain logistics, it's people moving things, not things moving the things. Yes, you can either double down and be a jack of all trades, which you probably need to be in a business like yourself, probably what I needed to be in a previous life. But also there's more to, don't be disheartened if you're really good at something, you can double down on your strengths and get threefold results, and then have someone there like it's a Batman and Robin or yin and yang, a bit like Theo and I, one of us. And we swim in our lanes and instead stick to our strengths.
Well, one of the last things that I'll leave you with is like, as I said before around superpowers, like one of the superpowers that we share is humor, and making sure that you sprinkle that in to really get that, you know, that personality out. Somebody that I worked with in the past, hopefully will watch this episode, that you know as well, Simon Wilkinson, he's probably like top 5 funniest people I've ever fucking met. Like he's just so funny. And he's taken me to new business meetings back in the day, and seeing him in a new business environment versus an existing customer. With existing customers, just love him because he's himself. But I remember going to a new business meeting with him like 10 years ago, and after the meeting, like I was like, "What? Like you didn't really crack any jokes in that meeting?" And he's like, "Oh, well, it was because A, B, C." And I'm like, dude, that's like your superpower, man. Like if I had that, if I like, I think I'm pretty funny, as everyone does. Not,
I think you're funny.
Oh, thank you.
You're funny.
That's what I was fishing for this entire time. But like if I had that, like he has it, I'd be spinning, I'd be pushing it out all the time. But the point being, and to close out the app, is that, you know, if you have a superpower like that, fucking use it because it's so gold, and not everyone has it.
Agree. And I think the close as well is like,
how many close? How many?
Well, we're trying to work on my closing.
Funny.
There's been many challenges on this podcast already of ways in the moment you got to transition what you're saying, because at the end of the day, your intent of what you want to say, not just in this podcast, but in real life, whether with your partner, at home, with family, with work, with colleagues, with investors, with, you know, anyone you meet in a cafe, everyday life, is your intent. Delivery can be completely off. I think in this, trying to be yourself, we're trying to be ourselves here in this podcast, but at the same time, there's so much more we could, you know, open up with and be funnier. But of course, sensitivities around what people may think, or people take things the wrong way. We live in that type of world now. So I think it's finding your people, finding the balance, finding what works. So hope everyone, as we close, appreciates what we're trying to do here.
Do you remember one of my catch cries, one of my jargons of how I used to wrap up sales meetings?
Nope.
I used to say this to you all the time. It's the penny's going to drop as soon as I start saying it.
Go.
All right, I'm conscious of everyone's time, and you guys have been really generous with it. So I just want to.
That's a good
That's
one.
how you wrap it up.
Circle wagon.
That's the end of episode 2, guys. If you liked it,
follow my channel,
subscribe, follow me, like us.
Mr.
Why won't you
Beast.
like us?
Dr. Beast, just love us.
Dr.
We're doing this because we just want you to like us. Okay, we need support, and we want followers and. Just send me all your freight data so I can send it to Matt.
I don't care about followers that much. But stay around. Episode 3 is coming up.
Thank you.